Okay, we're live.
Then I will call to order this meeting of the Park City Board of Education, and we will begin. With the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will now move into closed session for purpose of a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation and to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical and mental health of an individual or personnel. Can I get a motion?
Did we go to close? A second.
One, and then I believe this is roll call, so Susan. Susan, it's roll call.
Susan Goldberg.
Kathleen.
Kathleen Britton. Eileen Gallagher.
Yes.
That was my own thought.
Started with our discussion items, and we're gonna have Rich, West, and Poole Brown present to us. Please.
Hi, thank you. Is it okay if I stand? It feels awkward
Sure,
to
do
stand
whatever.
for stand.
Works for you.
So Rich West with the YMCA, Cool Brown with Mercy Housing. To lay the groundwork of why we're here, I've been a resident from Park City for, I don't know, a long time, over 30 years. And my kids are in the school system and I really understand and know the needs here. And Cool, Mercy Housing and the YMCA are actually partnering on a project down in Salt Lake. And so when we aligned what we felt some of the key needs in Park City are about youth services and affordable housing and the project we're doing, that's what brought us here today, is to talk about affordable housing and youth development in partnership with Park City School District and some property that you guys own. So that's where we are. So Cool's gonna start off.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, Lindsay, for the invitation. I'm extending that, and thanks for thinking of us. I'm going to be super brief and turn the floor back to Rich for the majority of the presentation here. Just quickly, yeah, Mercy Housing, we are probably the nation's largest national nonprofit affordable and attainable housing developer. We were started some 45 years ago by Sisters of Mercy in Omaha. Today, our national headquarters is in Denver, and we are active in 24 states. So in Utah, we have existing properties as well, and we are under contract for a property in the city of Salt Lake. And that's where we're going to kind of introduce to Rich. And yeah, happy to be here. Next slide. Just a little bit more about our overview. Our mission is really to create stable, vibrant, and healthy communities by developing, financing, and operating affordable and program-enriched housing. So we really do that in a number of ways. We like to work closely with the community in identifying housing needs, other community needs. We raise those funds. We build very high-quality, sustainable housing. We wrap the housing with services for the particular residents who are housing. So if it's senior, we do senior-related housing. If it's family-focused, we do financial literacy, educational attainment, youth time with schools, school-aged children, and financial literacy. Next slide. Little just about our national footprint. So you can see the dark navy blue are the states that we're currently active in. We have presence in Denver, Utah, and Arizona, which I should say, those are my region. I don't have oversight to the whole nation. I really oversee the Mountain West, and my key states are Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. So we have an active pipeline and portfolio. Next slide, please. In those states, and I just wanted to really touch on, I'm not sure what the familiarity with this board is with when we say attainable or affordable housing, what that means. We really typically mean housing that has somehow been subsidized, so the rents, and we really focus on more rental housing, are bought down to a attainable or somewhat affordable range compared to what the market rate rent would be in that particular area. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to touch on kind of the partnerships, and Rich kind of brought me in this conversation. I'm not trying to be presumptuous. I understand the Summit property may or may not be intended for some educator focused housing, workforce housing by the district. We certainly have a long history of creating partnerships. We've done co-developer and joint ventures. We've done basically land donation or land lease partnerships, which is really a helpful way to help buy down some of those rents we were talking about. We've done co-located attainable for sale housing with someone like a Habitat for Humanity, and then we take a piece of that of rental housing. So we've kind of run a full campus of, if you think about the housing laddership being all the way from an entry level house to for sale or even above that campus approach. And then we have equity partnerships. Next slide, please. I just threw in a few examples. Some of these are fairly urban. I don't think they would get the context of the Summit property. But I just wanted to show you, kind of how creatively we have thought about partnerships in the past. So this is a Denver, Colorado property that I developed where we had a high need in this community for early childhood education on the ground floor. It's an underserved community for that. So we built in 5 classrooms on the ground floor and then put 82 family units on the top 5 floors. Next slide, please. I want to showcase this one because I think it's really pertinent to some of what I assume might be some of the goals here. We just developed KCO, which is an educator-focused housing. Typically, we have to avoid discriminating, and I use that in a positive sense, towards housing just school staff. This is a really unique opportunity where we had a lot of local support. We partnered with 5 regional school districts to actually offer master lease and targeted housing for their especially for their entry level educator staffs that were having a really hard time finding that housing stock in the market. So we really did a lot of community involvement. It's really unique because it also offers a higher income level that an education staff might have, a teacher or just the public school district staff may have. So it really helped frame the workforce housing need of this community. Next. Back to what Rich opened with, we are really excited to be working with the Y on a new development from the ground up in downtown Salt Lake. This one will be co-located with the TBD square footage on a YMCA, but a really cool model where they're doing some youth achievement centers and other Y-related activity on the ground floor. And then we're stacking that with both attainable housing that will really target a huge and large range of income diversification at that, but for families. It'll also have 20 for sale townhomes by the local Habitat for Humanity consultant. Again, just some really quick ideas, nothing solid here, and really just opening hopefully what would be a future conversation or thought exploration with you guys. So clearly you have land, you have a mission. We could look at different ways to phase and partner if that was interest of you. Look at potential for a percentage set aside for PCSD, teachers, employees, etc. Next slide. Again, just further, I think this is in your packet. I'm not going to read all this, so I'll let, I think this is the next slide before I hand it over to you, Rich.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks, Joel. So when I was thinking about the needs, and really kind of what drove this concept was the YMCA has been operating a summer camp here in Park City for a number of years, and the school district has been a great partner, particularly the past few years, in donating space to us and subsidizing it at a low rate for us to be able to continue to operate summer camps. I can circle back to that. But as we were listening to what the needs are of how can we provide more preschool, youth services, and affordable housing, it was like, well, the two of us should come together and bring this concept forward to the board and the school district to go, is this something that you guys would like to move forward with? So from the YMCA side, if you want to advance the next slide, who we are and what we're not. We're an organization. The YMCA has always been about nurturing the potential for all kids, promoting healthy living, and fostering a sense of social responsibility. We're not just the gym and fitness center that most people think of. When they think of
Camp
YMCA.
Roger.
Exactly, Camp Roger.
Who you are.
Good, I know. Yeah. How many of you sent your kids to Camp Roger or Bill Hollow?
Mine was there last week.
Last week,
Yeah.
nice. I hope they like the new bathrooms and showers we finally took care of. I don't know if you even know.
Yeah, no. I noticed the paints in the cabins as well.
Yeah. So the Y has been around for a long time. In fact, YMCA of the USA is celebrating their 175th year this year. The YMCA in Utah has been around before Utah was a state, 1893. Camp Roger in 48. We had a downtown facility in 63, which no longer exists. We expanded it into Ogden School District, and a lot of our partnerships, pretty much all our operations are with the school district. And we built 2 buildings on school district property, Granite and Ogden School District. We opened a summer day camp in 2015. And again, it's listening to the needs, because those of you that have been around the community for a while, Park City kind of has a trend of offering day camps that are Monday through Wednesday, 10 to 2 p.m., which is great for that family that can afford that, but does not offer anything for all day for working families or single parent families or anything like that. So, and just so you have like a little motivation, my kids were 3 and 5 at the time. They're now 15 and 12, goes to school with Nick's son. By the way, my oldest had a great first year, first ninth grade class at the high school. He had a really good year this year. So good job, Caleb. So this is the scope. We're in Salt Lake, Ogden, Davis County. You guys are familiar with our overnight camps. We do preschool, after school, teens, day camp, and overnight camp, and excursions and destinations. So what brings us here and why we're here today? Next slide. So they're living here and being part of the community, early childhood education, there's a lot of pressure still, even with all the resources that are being put into it, with PC Tots and expansions of, you guys have even expanded your preschool dramatically. There's still more need. After school programs, teens, there's still not enough to keep teens engaged in summer day camp. Also, the other driving thing, which I don't think you know anything about, since I'm just kidding, because you're building tons of it right now. Athletic resources, sports and recreation amenities, and there's just not enough field space. I'm not quite sure what the plan is, the current full plan is, so maybe part of this presentation may not really be a full need, but then also the affordable attainable housing. I click one more time. So working together with Mercy Housing and the YMCA, a concept of building a facility that would address all of those needs. And go forward, is that? The regional hub. So this would build a youth center. So enough classrooms for preschool, community rooms, after school programs, potentially a teen room. And then the bigger thing that looks more like a barn is called an airnesium. And the reason I feel like this actually could be a viable opportunity is because my kids play club soccer, and they've been playing in middle of January at 9 o'clock at night out at Quinn's Junction. And if you can play out there with the wind blowing, if you just put a shelter on, I think that would create year-round use for programming. And we can do a lot of different things under this. We can do full athletic, turf, or it can be hardcore services. It can be half and half, depending on how big the need is. We could do like one of these of turf, one of these of hardcore, and then mini pitch soccer. Next slide, please. This is just more of helping visualize what it would be, so that continue back to the right, sorry. Number 2 is like the youth center, 1 is the airnesium, and then 4 and 3 are outdoor, and then also a field component to this. Next slide. So this is just more of what it could be. Sorry, you didn't forward. Keep going. So you get the idea of what this could be, and it doesn't even have to be this. It could be something that is under a bubble, but I think this would be better for year-round programming, where during the summer it's not hot, or you don't have to take down the bubble. So to wrap it up, essentially, these are some visuals of what it looks like, because some YMCA's have been building these around the country. That's what the airnesium kind of looks like and feels like in the middle, and slide to the right. Next one. So you guys have seen plenty of this. Next. So just the outdoor mini pitch soccer. So if there is an interest in moving forward with this, if this is something the district would like to be a partner in moving forward, what we would need to do on our end is do a formal community needs assessment, really validate what does the community want and need. do a market research study, which is what help us go, would we have enough people willing to come join and be pay and participate in this programming and make it so that we could sustain it. Because what we're asking for is the school district's land, but we're not asking for the school district to help pay for the capital or the operations of this. So, and then a campaign feasibility. Obviously, if the athletic amenities needed to go where something we want to go forward, my main vision for this is getting all the key stakeholders who want extra field space and hard court space and see, is this something we would want to partner with and help with a capital campaign? Because it would be, yes, owned and operated by the YMCA, but the whole point of a YMCA is partnering with everyone in the community. So the Park City Soccer Club, lacrosse, basketball, any of those amenities that would want to use these resources and have them be involved in it. So we have additional slides, but that's really the bulk of our presentation. So are there questions or what are your guys' thoughts about the potential of moving forward with something like this?
I'm excited.
Did the Palo Alto site that served multiple school districts start on school district land or was it another?
Palo Alto, is that?
Yeah, it was a school district site. But then it kind of reverted to a city and then the city RFP'd it. And that one of the
Okay.
qualifications was like, if you can, we really would love that you get it. So we thought a little outside the bubble and did that.
Nice. And so then they were able to serve all the districts in the area.
Yeah.
I was just sorry, I was being rude. I had the county did a economic impact study a year and a half ago on affordable housing, and that's available that I can share with you guys.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
As a getting started with
Yeah.
the community needs
Yeah.
assessment.
Well, and just from my perception, we've had several of these district conversations and especially high cost markets where there is teacher retention, staff retention issues based on housing criteria and or extremely long commute times, et cetera. So we really are seeing this phenomenon nationwide in some of the high cost markets overlapping.
I am interested in deep restricted housing that's available for purchase, not just rental
Yeah,
properties.
and I think that's we like to stay in our lane, but we understand and get that, and we do value those partnerships. So I think in this particular case, absolutely, we would want to look and see how that partnership would line up.
We have Habitat and Mountains both.
Yeah.
active.
I mean, we know Mountain's very well.
What's your timeline in terms of getting started, capital campaign?
So I would say from my perspective, he's the developer, so he knows much more about this, but from the YMCA side, it probably would take from the time you said yes, and then we would do that feasibility research, that would probably take less than a year to get through all of that feasibility research. And then if that continues to move forward, then it would just be the construction and fundraising timeline. So I would say 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the housing, it could be a little quicker than that. I think there's a good period of due diligence that has to happen with understanding what the site can do, but there's obviously some topography on that site. So we need to figure out like how the cut and fill works and how you can, still have the natural topography, but still use what you can on the site. I would say probably around the same, a year and a half of due diligence, pre-development, and then probably a year, depending on if it's phased or if it's in partnership with the deed restricted, attainable housing, what their timing is, et cetera.
But we have an idea at this point what portion of that land we use for this versus keep.
We haven't even had that conversation. I think when we initially spoke, you guys anticipated needing about 10 acres of
That
that.
was just ballparking, yeah,
For 10 years.
10 of the 55.
There's 55 acres, there's some slope to some of it, I've been over there. Probably the best part of the acreage is around the easement that was provided to the sharps. The road that's kind of naturally there already. But
Has the school district been in conversation with the folks trying to get some senior housing? I know that was identified as a huge need.
No, we have not.
I would also be very interested in
Yeah.
incorporating senior housing as well, because there just really isn't.
There's a need.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, well, that's great, as we saw, we need a lot of senior, a lot of families, so we can definitely look at through that lens as well.
And speaking of the cuff, those of you that have lived in other communities and been involved with the YMCA, you know, the YMCA really is for, you know, cradle to grave, it really, so if seniors became a part of it, senior program, building in senior programming is also something that Y would very big part of it. It's not what we currently do now, but Y's around the country definitely have a lot of senior programming.
And I would say that there's not necessarily a preschool need for ages 3 to 4. There's more that 0 to 3 childcare need within our community right now.
For sure. From a business sustainability standpoint, really though, you need to like. You have to have the whole pipeline through. Because if you just have people come and go, like parents tend to choose, like, once they're in a place, they kind of stay there unless they have to change. So, you know, and I love the changes you guys made because back when my kids were, we wanted to send our kids to the school district, but because it was Monday through Thursday and ended at 3, and my wife and I both worked, but like our hands were tied, so we just couldn't use the district, but you guys solved that problem.
So your early childhood centers, are they 0 to 4?
We could,
Okay.
currently we do 2 and up. Because, anyway, I won't get into the detail, but yeah,
There's just a gap currently, right?
yes,
We
exactly.
have lots of options for 3, 4, but 0 to 3, not as many options.
Yeah.
When I first came to the district with my oldest child, who just graduated college, kindergarten was a half day.
Yeah, I know. I was lucky. It started full day right when my kids came.
And I was like, what? Nonsense.
Yeah. So just, I mean, as you can see, that's like the need of like, how can we make sure that families have places to keep their kids engaged, active, and then the housing issue, which we all know that living in Park City definitely is not that attainable. So,
Yes, I think if there was interest, you know, we would love to continue that conversation, even as a thought partner, you know, like, hey, maybe it's not us ultimately that does it, but we would just love to stay abreast.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that was kind of the purpose of being in front of you guys. I know it's taken a while.
Apologies
But,
for-
or if you have, you know, we would love to know if there's timeline or other plans on, you know, the development of that property, et cetera, so stay abreast of them.
Currently, there are no plans to develop that property.
Okay.
Yeah, so keep us in mind if this is something like you're like, yes, we want to do something. Some of the other moving pieces, because we were, the first time we were gonna present was back in November, but since November, you know, Basin Recreation has gotten a new executive director that has also made some changed decisions that they currently weren't doing, that now they are moving potentially in a direction that may have some overlap here. So we'd have to figure out how that would fit into all of this. It's definitely not a deal breaker, but none of us want to like duplicate things that are already being done. And it's a lot harder to fundraise against somebody that goes to forced fundraising. Bonding, so.
Thank you. One more question, does the
Yeah.
YMCA, when you do early childhood development or education, do you always provide that, or do you ever partner with other groups who provide it?
We do that.
Do you do that?
Yeah, so we have, 2 classrooms in Salt Lake and a number in Weaver, Davis County. And we are fully licensed childcare. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So what are the
It's
steps?
easy thoughts, when we can-
I think we need to talk about the land and what that agreement might entail and.
I think,
It's like a
Yeah.
future.
sometimes typically what we do is like, do a very informal, non-binding MOU. Like if that was something of interest, like hey, we're just setting this at a certain time to look further into this. No one's on the hook for anything, it's just, you know, happy to send over something. They're very light agreements, happy to send over. It's important.
Sure.
It sounds like you have to internally understand and deal with that larger strategic things. So very much appreciate your consideration today.
And I'll share those economic impacts
That would be great.
with you.
That'd be great.
Um,
And I did not put my contact up there, but if I give it to you, could you?
Yeah, I can circulate it.
Perfect. So if any questions or other comments or.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And these are about the why and about the regional hub concept. So just so you have
Thank you.
something. And also I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you very much for partnering with us. We're using Trailside Elementary for our day camp. That's also one of the motivations for this is so we have a permanent home for day camp. But I really appreciate the school district continuing to work with us, let us operate day camp. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we've got JD, who's an update.
I'm gonna say.
That's fine. How's 4-H going, dude?
What's up?
How's 4-H going?
I'm missing tonight, that's okay, they're in good hands. So, actually, we're getting bumped. I think you guys have your bus drivers or something going on at Jeremy Ranch. What's the thing they do over there?
Yeah, it's a transportation conference.
Yeah, they rented part of the facility where we do our 4-H at, and so they're kind of bumping us anyways a little bit, so it's a big deal. So, all right, I just said we're starting to treasure, okay. That's good, so, no, let's go through treasure.
We have two
So-
slides.
Yeah.
We could just.
Excuse me. So I don't have any pictures, but I'd welcome anybody that wants to come take a tour. I'm happy to walk them through things. We're approaching about the 65 to 70% range of being completed. So there are just the end pieces here that are happening. Probably the biggest at Treasure would be the tennis courts, but we'll get into that here shortly. So, you know, the dewatering's done, the tanks are off the field, we've got the turf there for the softball, but the turf company wants to do the soccer and the baseball fields at the same time. So they're scheduled tentatively sometime in July. It's kind of how their schedule rolls. They're very busy. So, but we're on their list, and so they're telling me sometime in July. My guess would be the end of July. That's how that usually works, right? So, but they're ready. The only thing that is not ready in the soccer fields is the fine lift that goes in, and then obviously the shot pad, but they're pouring the wall that goes around it, which is what the turf attaches to. And then there's the fencing that goes on top of the concrete around that as well. So they're doing that, but you don't see a lot of work there because they're at subgrade right now. Currently, all the excess soil on site is being moved to the landscaping areas and being shaped around the baseball and softball fields. So that big pile of soil that you've seen there, I would say is 75% ground. And put in place there. I would anticipate by the end of next week it'll all be gone. So, which is that is a big milestone for that site, right? The support building is about 50% up right now. They've done the one side up almost to the top out. They're pouring the slab in there tomorrow, so they left the one wall down that you can kind of see from the road, but you can see it's kind of offset a little bit, but that'll go pretty quick once they pour that. They're pouring that tomorrow. The parking lot gets rotomilled tomorrow, and the restroom we just finished the asbestos survey yesterday, and so it's 10-day notices filed, so it'll be coming down probably next week, I would say, when they knock that down. So they're pouring all the site concrete around the press box, concessions, the team room. So all that site concrete's going down now. They've got everything done to the west side of that press box. The batting cages will be going in as soon as we're done, finish moving the dirt there, and those are not on concrete, so they're on a substrate base. So, and we have all that there. And then we have some big utilities tie-ins in that parking lot. And so they'll rotomill that and then start those utilities. And then we have a big tie-in in Comstock by the bus stop there, and that'll be happening. So, schedule for the tennis courts is still on for the middle of July. Once that material's moved, we'll grade that out and get that subgrade brought up. The bleachers are coming in July, bleachers are coming for both projects, right? So for the soccer fields, for the baseball, softball, everything, tennis, everything over at Dozier as well, they're all shipping in July. Those guys are just gonna hop between both projects and get those in. We're doing light poles right now around the soccer fields, and then we'll hop over to the tennis courts. That finishes it out, and then get new lights in the parking lot as well. Think that's pretty much it for over there. We've got most of the site utilities in. Like I said, we're working on the gas, that's coming in the next week or two, or we're doing those water tie-ins and the power, and that's pretty much there. I would say that again, what's probably behind schedule at Treasures are the tennis courts, right? He gets them formed up, poured in July, they have a 30-day cure time, and then the surfacing, so we'll see how that all kind of shakes out, but as far as soccer, baseball, everything else should be finished, I would say by middle of August, somewhere in there, so. It's looking pretty.
What's in a support building?
So the sport building's got a bunch of bathrooms and changing rooms, so it kind of supports both the soccer and the tennis courts. So
That's different than a locker room, so they're just for the baseball and
that's right, they have team rooms for the baseball and softball for home and visitor side where the teams can go in, they have a little bathroom in there, it has benches and stuff like that.
and is it public access?
I guess that would be up to you guys. I don't, nobody's ever talked about whether the team rooms would be public. The support building, I would think if the
And the
public.
support building, like, where's the restrooms for people that come there?
Okay, so off the concessions building, to see that, it's kind of hard to see the print there, but there's all bathrooms right there.
Okay, so that's for the public.
Yeah, those are all bathrooms right there for the public. So if you're watching a baseball game, softball, you'd go there. Soccer, you may want to walk across to the support building or.
It'll be
to the
a
concession.
substantial upgrade from what our public is used to on that side.
Yeah,
And then there's a fence around the whole thing,
the whole thing, yep. Yep,
but not individually. Is it individually on the inside also?
yes, so the soccer fields are individually split by the concrete wall you see kind of going down the middle there, and those, you can set on those steps, that's what they're there for, and then there is two sets of bleachers. There's a press box that goes in the middle of that, right, but it's made so you sit and watch the north field or you sit and watch the south field, but they all have an individual fence. It's there for safety as well, right? So if there's a net that goes along that as well, but yeah, those are individually fenced. Obviously, the baseball field is, the softball field is, and then the tennis courts are fenced in groups of 4.
And is that red part the fence?
The red part is kind of the boundary of the work we're doing, which is really that wooden fence, that existing fence there that kind of separates that north 40 from there. That's kind of what we've
Right.
always used as the boundary line, and that's what you're seeing with that red line right there. So that's the existing fence, so.
What about the wetlands that are on the other side? Are they on the other side of that?
They are on the other side of that, yeah, exactly, yeah, so. That's always been the boundary line when we got the core on the wetlands there, that's what we used as a stopping point for construction, so.
Thanks.
Jenny, I know we delayed the parking lot. When do you anticipate that being at full completion?
It should be ready for school, start of school, all they're doing really is road milling that up. They're putting the utilities in and then they are redoing the subgrade and then it's just paving, right? So I fully expect it to be ready for school. And they know that as well too, right? Obviously with everything that goes on over there, so, yep. Like I said, if anything, it'd be the tennis courts, would be a little slow, so. And I think anything else to go, treasure, we'll move
So-
on to.
We'll be playing sports.
Yes.
These fields.
Yep,
In August.
yes, no question about that. There a couple weeks in the August, I don't know when in August, but if they come at the end of July, hold on. If they come at the end of July, you're 2 weeks probably them laying the turf, right? And getting everything in there, but they won't commit to a date. And I can't push them any harder than I've pushed them, right? Because they're so busy, so.
I look forward to the grand opening.
But do you have a grand opening date?
August 1st.
August 1st. Like those.
Nick's gonna throw out the first pitch.
No, very,
Yeah.
okay. On to those.
I'll be honest, I am nervous about
I know.
that.
Everybody is. I just had a conversation with Caleb. He's nervous too. I
So I had to say it on Friday.
I've done this a long time and I feel good, actually. I feel really good about what's going on. So now, obviously, there's things that aren't in my control, but Dozier's going very well, right? They are currently grading the track out right now. They're forming it next week and they're pouring that in one shot. The real issue with the track is we have to be completely off of it. And we still have things coming in that we have to unload. Like today, they were mounting the AV system upgrade at the south end zone on top of or right next to the scoreboard. So they had to have access in there today. We had a bunch of dirt or sand delivery today. So there's just a few things, but as of next week, they're gonna start forming that, and then when they get ready, they're pouring it in one shot. So they'll pour the whole thing, it probably will take them, I don't know how long they're estimating it's gonna take, but they're gonna pour it all at once. So, and he has a date for that of. He is, end of June, he's saying he's gonna be done pouring that, so. That's what he's telling me.
Looks like a lot of heavy machinery is still gonna be needed around.
Well, the good thing about the truck was is that most of the substrate was there, right? So it was just cleanup at this point. And then we had a couple soft spots we've already corrected and so I feel pretty good about that. He had a pretty good layout today when I was there. The east or the west side, home bleachers are just about complete inside. They've got one wall left to pour that they'll pour next week, but the precast is coming next week and they are setting that next week. So we're doing that from the east side. Crane will be there in that green triangle space. And then we're gonna lift from the church parking lot and set all the precast. So that will be done. The south end zone sidewalk and wall is done and tied in. They're working on the north one. I'd say they're about 75% done with that one. The buildings on the east side are, the tiles going in, the ceilings are done, all the fixtures are in, they're painted. They're saying they'll be delivered by the end or the middle of July, and the steel production is in production from Canopy right now. So once the steel gets here, that'll go up fairly quickly as well. So Dozier's, all of the site utilities are still going in. We actually came up with a better plan that keeps us out of Lucky John for the water tie-in. So that seems to be penciling out right now. And so we're not gonna affect Lucky John at all with that water tie-in like I mentioned last time. So we're gonna come across that north end of the track. So I think that's we come up with a good solution there. Again, the bleachers coming in the middle of July. I do not see any issues with Dozier. We have the turf scheduled to tack back to the track the end of July. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. So I know it looks rough, but
August 28th.
yeah. And like I said, I'm happy if anybody, obviously it moved already. So.
Well, that's the first home football.
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm not worried about the football game at all. If anything that wouldn't be done would be the striping. He told me to take a week to stripe it, but they want an extra time. So you have the curve time, which would be all of July. So he would theoretically, and if everything falls into place, he would be doing that surfacing the first part of August. So yeah, no, I'm aware of the date. Caleb's buying me a hot dog. Did you forget about that? So anyways, but that's the Dozier, so I feel pretty good there. So, but like I said, if anybody wants to come walk, I'm happy to walk them through and show them the progress and everything else. I know it's hard to see from kind of the outside looking in, but I really feel good about what's going on. So.
I'd love to take a look at it.
Okay, let me know.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, come over and I'll walk you through it. So, okay. Thank you.
You.
I know, I just got my phone out and Colton is a pretty good photographer, it turns out. Excited to share a couple of the accomplishments. I talked a lot about some of these in my commencement presentation to graduates, but I thought superintendent asked me to give you a little bit more detail and go a little bit
Deeper, I mentioned 24.5 ACT score, which I'm not aware of a class with a higher average. It actually is likely a little bit higher than that. That's their junior year performance. Seniors that retake it typically perform even higher because they're like trying to get those high achieving, but the way ACT breaks it down, I cannot guarantee an average, so I have to go with the lowest. Through 2025, they've passed 1,114 tests. We don't know 2026 until July. A safe estimate would be 450 tests. And if that's the case, that's conservatively 4,692 college credits earned through AP alone. That's incredible. That is, I don't believe there's another school in the state reaching those numbers. We're the only platinum public school in AP, and continues to be incredible. 16 Sterling Scholars. I was at the Sterling Scholar presentations. These are just world-class students. And it was a lot of fun to watch them compete against their fellow schools. They actually go to a competition, compete against other Sterling Scholars of other schools. So there's subject area Sterling Scholars, there's a general, there's math, there's CTE, there's musical, vocal, all about all of these Sterling Scholars. It's a lot of fun to see them compete. We had multiple full-on winners, but all of them were honored. 7 National Merit Scholars or finalists, including one of the top award winners, Parker. Just a phenomenal young man. He did that with concurrent enrollment. They do not break down the concurrent enrollment credits by grade, but if you estimate their share throughout the course of the 4 years, conservative estimation is 4,000 concurrent enrollment credits. I remember when Lindsay brought this program to the high school, and you know, where were we 15 years ago when we were chipping away at this? Hundreds. Yeah, hundreds to now where we're almost earning as many concurrent enrollment credits as AP. And what I love about that is our kids have options, right? It's not, one is not superior to the other. It's really about their path. So when we talk about every path as possible, the fact that we can offer the best AP program in the state, better in my opinion than any private school, let alone public school, and a concurrent enrollment program that there are programs that offer more credits than we do. But that amount of variety is incredible. I'm not aware of a class that's earned more credits between the two though. This was a very impressive academic class. Extracurriculars are 6 state champions. We started with girls cross country. That was followed by girls swimming. At BYU, that was a super fun. Our boys team lost by 0.02 seconds in the final relay. It was heartbreaking, but they're a young group of boys and look out for them next year. And our girls team with Coach Schma is on pace for a potential repeat as well. Hockey, our boys hockey team won. That is a club sport, so it doesn't count for UHSAA, but we very much are proud of our boys, and that's one of our 6. And then girls golf won, the first ever. This was a final to remember. They were announced the winner. We were down there. I was on the green celebrating with the girls, and I had to run to state region track. I left. I'm 15 minutes in the car, and all of a sudden, George Murphy, our head coach, and assistant principal, is calling, and I say, "Hey, champ," and he says, "They messed up. We didn't win. We're going to overtime." And this is like after, and I was like, "You're kidding." And I'm in the car driving away, but needless to say, they went into overtime after that level of emotion, still won their first ever. So they won, they tied, and then they won again. Girls lacrosse and boys lacrosse, which have been some of our most premier programs. If you go to the next slide, highlight some of the community involvement. This is something I didn't get to touch on. So we generate this data from an end of year survey that all the seniors take. Most of this data is survey based. So note that it is as reliable as the kids are honest. They're pretty honest though. But 60% participated in JV or varsity sports, even more if you consider all levels. 33% participated in athletic club or sport outside of school. 12% were in our musical programs. 15% were members of National Honor Society. 44% engaged in community service or volunteer service, and 73% had a part-time job during high school. And I think people don't realize how busy our students are. But it is worth noting that even in a highly affluent community, many of our students are working for various reasons, but 73% had a job, a formal job for part of their time. So a lot of community involvement in this class. We go to the next slide. I talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to break it down further for you. Life after high school. So 79, almost 80% of our students are planning on going to 4-year universities. 5% are planning on a 2-year college, and 4% are doing a trade school or apprenticeship style program. I mentioned this is at 109 universities or colleges, 36 states, 5 countries, including the US. We have 4 students going directly into the military. And then a little bit more of a breakdown on our first generation students. You can see that 54% are attending a four-year college, 17% two-year, 3% will be attending trade school or internship. This is just an incredible number. I think our Bright Futures program, the Foundation's involvement, I think for our Dream Peak program, you have to give a shout out to Mel Moffett, Anna Williams, Nan Sykes, our MLL teachers. This doesn't happen with those types of people. Jake Jober, a Latino in Action advisor, Dr. Joe. This doesn't happen without those investments and those kiddos opening doors. Pepper Elliott taking kids on college tours, because when you're first gen, just the exposure to college and like figuring out the system is such an intimidation. So that's incredible. And scholarships being put to use is something reported this year. It's slightly different than what we've done in the past, but scholarships earned is one thing, but sometimes we have kids that earn scholarships to 4 different schools and you only use one of them. So in the past, if it was scholarships earned, I don't have the exact number calculated, but it's approximately 2.5 times that number, pushing 18 million. But scholarships, but that's not all being put to use again, because a lot of school kids earn a lot of scholarships and don't use that. This is not like grants from the government, et cetera. This is pure scholarship. So think community scholarships, think general scholarships that are available to students, and then school-based scholarships or athletic or academic scholarships. So just incredible, $7 million. Before we go on, I think that one thing that we did in the survey, and I only have 5 minutes, so I'll wrap this up pretty quickly. We added a couple of questions. One was, what was the most impactful or memorable part of high school? We wanted to get some qualitative data on that. And 60% of the students said it was athletics. It was by far and away the number one. If you add performing fine arts like band and theater, you get over 80%. And I think the message there is what you're doing and how you're investing in these projects is money well spent, because it's expanding access to the most impactful part of students. And as we consider phase 3, to me, when you think of 80% of our students are saying, and that encompasses performing fine arts, when and if that ever becomes, that is where kids are saying, this was the most impactful part of my life. So it's money well spent when we continue to invest in those areas. And then the last question we did, and I was expecting different answers, and I hope to someday get those answers, is we did a sentence starter, which is a basic strategy, but it was, dear admin or teacher or counselor or coach, etc. I wish you would have known, and blank. And I wanted feedback on like, where are we missing? And we did get a few comments on yonder pouches that they're not fun. That was okay with me. But what I wasn't expecting, and was really fun, is the amount of named teachers and counselors that changed their lives. And I knew it existed, but I was thinking they were gonna give us feedback on things to improve. But the last message seniors wanted to say to us by name was, dear teacher. And I was able to go on and read these quotes to teachers, because I wasn't expecting it, but I went around and started saying, I want you to hear what a kid said about you. You changed my life. You're the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. That's the last word. It wasn't advice on how to improve, which was kind of the intention of my thought, is how can we improve? It was the relationship changed my life, which we know, but it was really fun to get a surprise that they focused on a relationship ending, because that's how powerful it was, over the opportunity to say, I wish you would do better here. And the vast majority of the comments were individual teachers, counselors, coaches getting called out by name for making an impact in their life, rather than here's how you improve. Outside of a few younger pouch complaints and working, so wasn't up for debate. But it was a great class, and those are the highlights I wanted to share with you. Any questions about the class that we didn't address?
How are you gonna surpass that?
Doja feels really good.
But it's not too early.
It's not Deer Valley. I requested a graduation line item in the budget. Maybe we could keep doing Deer Valley. No, Deer Valley happened because of bad snow, and I'm glad that this class, who got so disrupted by so many things, gets that unique memory. Dozier is special, and if we go back to Dozier, which is the intention, these kids aren't suffering in Dozier. It is a beautiful facility. We have a new AV system coming in that we don't even have to rent a full AV system moving forward. Which will stay.
Town's gonna hear it. All right.
Well, our neighbors might.
That will be the next. These results are so astounding. What can we do to maximize and what are the opportunities that we may not be getting out to the various community leaders, groups, I have no idea how different we are. And this is what we produce. This is amazing.
Well, our community is remarkable. I hope it's super affirming for you all as a board, for our superintendent, right? Your leadership, right? You're stewarding our money and our resources well. This doesn't happen by accident. It starts with a board who stewards money well, develops good policy, positive leadership to trickle down. And then our teachers are our secret sauce. They're really good. And our community, I mean, we've had success for a long time. But is this?
This is extraordinary.
Yes,
success.
I agree. And I think we just have to continue to talk about what we do and then, it's hard in the grind of the year and we challenge our teachers and I challenge myself. Unfortunately, there are still people that don't have a positive experience in Park City School District, right? And that is why we have to just continue an iteration cycle of improvement and we have to continue to look to make tweaks. But the good news is we don't have to like start from scratch in our system. No one's asked us to do that, and that would be foolish, but we can't be satisfied with these results. We just gotta continue to tweak instructional tweaks, PCBL, personalized competency-based learning. How can we give those little tweaks and connect with one more kid? We're definitely at the one more kid stage though, where it's like, our goal is to grab one more. We're not like scooping up huge buckets because we don't have buckets of kids to scoop up, but we do have kids that are falling through cracks still. You know,
We still have demographic achievement gaps.
yes, we absolutely do. Absolutely do. So those are, we're not done. We're not done. But what, yeah, I don't lose sleep over this. This data puts you to sleep and after with a smile, you're not devastated by this. Most principals would love to come present to the board with this, right?
I think city, we can use these as talking points for those families who reside within our boundaries that are choosing private schools. Or charter schools or other entities to educate their child.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations to everyone should be affirmed. Everyone should feel good right now.
Thanks,
Well,
Gail.
well, the value was a lot of fun. Probably not a big one, but next year.
I give you. I you on that, yes.
I do want to publicly acknowledge, and I know Caleb did in his speech, Catherine Bradley was instrumental in allowing us to pull this off at Deer Valley. She rolled out the red carpet for us.
She's You're very great.
Great asset to do that. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank
you. Again, happy birthday for everybody else.
Oh, did you?
For graduation. For your mom. Hey, man.
She is not.
Oh, no. She's not.
We're gonna pull her off the agenda.
Oh, okay.
She had blood.
Oh,
She had to do
oh,
it.
good. All right. We can skip, we can come back to consent. I can wait for. No, I'm waiting for Eileen. So, yes, yeah. We're gonna do public comment and then go to consent agenda. So. So just refresher that the board wants to hear live input from our community members at our meetings, but in order to respect and preserve the time allotted to each presenter, each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. And so Tim, you're the only one that we have for public comment, but you can come up.
Okay.
But you only have 3 minutes, and we do have time.
Well, I'm actually really excited after that last presentation. My public comment is even more relevant. Let me know when you're ready, or just do you want me to dive in? Okay. So good evening to all the members of the board and Superintendent Huntsman. I've never met you in person, so nice to meet you. My name is Kimberly Dunlop, and I live about 8 minutes away. I'm in the Park City area. And I love some of those stats that were just given because it's relevant to what I'm about to say. But my husband coaches Park City youth football, which for any of you who have coached, I don't see my husband July until October, because he's coaching every single night and every Saturday for all the future minors. And I actually I just love board meetings. I'm on the Weileman School of Discovery, which is a charter school by Woodward. You guys know where that's at, so I am on that board. But I really paid attention to the stat that said 80% of students said sports was the most meaningful. So that just like made me really think about what I'm about to kind of share with you guys tonight, which is regarding a severe open enrollment equity issue for my rising 6th grader, Luke, which I detailed in a letter yesterday. I copied all of the board members, so if any of you didn't get a chance to see it, I did bring copies, which I'm not sure who the secretary is, but I'm happy to pass that out. Anyone? Okay. Okay. So last year, the district explicitly instructed the public that out of boundary elementary placement would not grandfather students into Edgar Hill Middle School because 6th grade enrollment was strictly closed. Relying on the integrity of that public directive, I chose not to place my son in a PCSD 5th grade class last year. And when the district opened enrollment for Edgar Hill this year, we followed the rules and applied legally, but were denied due to capacity. I'm also just going to add this. I don't think it's healthy for kids to disrupt them. So my biggest concern as a mom and parent was moving him into PCSD and then having his dreams crushed. If I moved him and then through the open enrollment process, he didn't get in. So I also just felt like it was a better option for him to stay where he was at and then wait for this to potentially open up. So, however, now I've confirmed that the cohort of out of boundary current 5th grade students that are being transitioned directly into Edgar Hill 6th grade were not subjected to the same open enrollment process for all of the out of boundary kids. The administration is saying that this is continuing students, but under the Utah Code section 53G-6-403, there's no statutory exemption for continuing non-resident student. The law explicitly mandates that open enrollment procedures be administered fairly and without prejudice to any student or class of student. So by completely waiving the open enrollment process for preferred class of out-of-district students while enforcing a hard barrier against families that applied in good faith, the district has created a profoundly inequitable system. If Edgar Hill has the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay.
3 minutes.
That was it. I was pretty much done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I added too many personal comments.
We'll go back to the consent agenda. So for the consent agenda, we have the regular session minutes from May 19th. We have the closed session minutes of May 19th. We have the PBIS report, the Park City Transportation easement, the Tyler accounting software approval, the superintendent contract, the business administrator contract, the license compensation agreement, the ESP agreement and compensation, the admin agreement, personnel information, and board revenue and expenditures for May 26th. Anybody?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have anybody from the report?
Just me.
Oh, you, okay.
So I'm gonna give you guys an update on our district strategic plan goals. Just know that this data is preliminary based on our testing platforms ETA for most assessment data to be finalized by USBE is August, and then we'll get the graduation rate along with our report card in October. So reminder that these are our 5 strategic plan goals. 80% of our multilingual learners reach language proficiency within 5 years. We did pivot. We really want to focus on those students meeting their adequate progress goals each year, because if they're meeting their goals, then they will exit language services. This goal was not realistic because as of last fall, we were sitting below 50% in those students exiting within 5 years of being with us. 90% of 3rd grade students will reach or exceed benchmark in reading as measured by their reading assessment, which is currently Acadience. 90% of 8th grade students reach proficient in math as measured by RISE. 75% of our graduates will meet the ACT College and Career Readiness benchmarks for English and reading, and we will reach a 100% graduation rate. So where are we, might you ask? So for our multilingual learners, we tested 316 students this year and 46 exited. So that's about 15%. So now you can see why we needed to shift that goal. Number of students taking WIDA in the school year by grade. See, it's heavily concentrated in K through 5, dips a little bit and then trends back up in grades 8 and 9. This test tests 4 different domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And there are 6 different proficiency levels that range from entering to reaching. Next slide. 63 students were in their baseline year, meaning they were new to Utah. 40 of them were kindergartners. So 3rd year, if you look at this, that is mostly our 3rd grade students. However, you might have a 9th or a 10th grade in there because they may have only been with us for 3 years, but the majority of those are 3rd grade. 4th year is mostly 4th grade, and 5th grade is mostly our 5th grade. You'll notice in our 4th year, we saw a significant increase with those making adequate progress. The 4th grade cohort has had the new English language arts curriculum for 2 full school years. So we do attribute some of that growth to the new ELA curriculum. What's tricky about our MLL data is we have low N sizes, so it makes it much more volatile when you start to break it down into grade and year cohorts. Looking at the percent of MLL students achieving English proficiency or making adequate progress, again, you can note the highlight of our 4th year MLL students, which is mostly made up of our 4th grade students. There are a handful who are not in 4th grade, but continuing from last year, they grew 11% in proficiency and then 18% in terms of meeting their adequate progress goals. 3rd grade reading, if you follow along with legislation, they have moved the mark. So the old goal was measuring above benchmark, so those kids who were reading above grade level. The new goal is at or above benchmark. These test results are as a result of oral reading fluency along with retail, and overall 81% of our students, based on the most recent Acadience data from this school year, are at or above benchmark. So we're already surpassed that goal for the state that's set for 2030, but our goal for 2028 is 90%. And what it means to be at or above. At is those students who are green, above is blue. What we are seeing is that we've done a really good job of growing our greens to blues, but not so great at growing our yellows and reds to green. So really starting to focus on that cohort of kids. If you want specific school year or school data, let's see, Jeremy Ranch was 87% at or above. McCollum was 79%, Harley's Park was 87%, and Trailside was 71%. What we're noticing is those teachers who were very intentional and implemented the new ELA curriculum with fidelity and integrity and used it as it was intended, saw growth amongst their students. And that's starting to be realized through this rise, or I should say Acadiance data. Next slide is 8th grade math. We're above the state, but still have a lot of work to do to get to that 90% goal by 2028. When you look at math data for 8th grade, there's really two tails. The average proficiency percentage for regular math 8 is around 30 to 35%, whereas the percentage for our honor students is 85 to 90%. So you can see the discrepancy. And that doesn't just start in 6th grade. If you look at math 6, where there is not a separate track, everybody's in math 6, there's not an honors math 6 and a math 6. The math 6 rise proficiency rate for the past several years has been between 42 to 46%. And then what happens is those two tracks split in 7th grade. So we've got an action plan to address some of those concepts that maybe our 6th graders are not mastering to help impact that 8th grade rise score for math.
Do you really think it's doable to go up 18%
I do,
in the math, 8th graders?
I do, because we're talking about a handful of kids that we're trying to move, right? And really focusing on the concepts that our kids are not scoring proficient with. Because it's not all concepts, it's isolated concepts that they need more practice with.
Do you think the split starts? Does the split start at 6th grade because of those isolated concepts getting introduced that year?
Yes. But they're all together, and then in 7th grade, they can choose a track. And that's where we allow students to start to accelerate. So when they reach high school, they can reach the highest level of science and or math. And the state is in the middle of rewriting math standards, and there's some differing opinions on integrated math, which is the secondary math 1, 2, 3, or should we revert back to the algebra and geometry trick? So there's some discussion happening, and those standards are out for public comment right now. 11th grade ACT, this is according to the ACT that our 11th graders take in March at the high school. It is not the ones that they sign up for by themselves. So the benchmark for college and career readiness for English is 18, reading is 22. You can see for English, we surpassed our goal, and for reading, we have a bit of work to do. And this is indicative of how successful a student will be their freshman year at college. And our graduation goal, we anticipate the state releasing our final percentage for the class of 2026 in the late fall, because students have until September 30th to complete classes if they haven't already done so. And we always have a handful of students who are working towards that. So this is based on last year's results. We had a 95% graduation rate while the state sat at 90%. You'll see a bit of a dip. We believe that's due to the number of dropouts. We had approximately a 4%. In 2024, we had 13 who were categorized as dropouts. And then in 2025, we had 17. And dropout can take on a couple different definitions. A true dropout, expelled, they exited to take the GED, their graduation is pending. Unknown means they never got picked up by another school district. So yeah, they have a state SID, student ID, and that number follows them, so when they exit from us and they don't get picked up elsewhere by the time they're supposed to graduate, that counts against us as a dropout.
So do we have a sense of how this compares to the kids who stayed here versus those kids who did leave us and the ones?
Once they leave us, we don't necessarily track them.
So how do we, when someone say moves out of state,
Yeah, this is all.
their number, or does it?
They'll get picked up, by their new,
I guess,
And
so,
another
I guess I'm saying that this is counting for those kids, right? Kids who left.
and didn't get picked up.
So, but we must know our own rate.
These are kids who started with us in ninth grade. This is the four-year cohort. Remember, we've counted graduation rates in two different ways.
Yeah.
The four-year cohort, meaning they started with us in August of their ninth grade year and finished with us as a senior in June. There have been other graduation rates that have been reported previously, and that was a senior who started with us in August and finished with us in June.
So how do you reach 100% if we've always had some students that drop out?
We ensure they don't drop out.
Well,
And we
Well, if you look,
meet them at their level of need, right? Not every,
that's a lot of students.
But what if someone leaves here? Say they don't, like you said, they don't get picked up, then what if we can't?
yeah, it would still count as.
Right.
So
if
is it,
someone moves to Montana and they finish their senior year there,
They don't
Do they
count
get
against us. Yeah.
they don't
be
count
removed.
against us. We know that they,
Mhm, mhm.
okay. And if they've moved,
I think that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So we're not
Yes.
getting things for kids who have gone
We're
somewhere
not
else.
getting
No.
Okay.
As long as they enroll elsewhere, they are picked up and not
Right.
counted against us.
within that time frame, okay.
Mhm.
doesn't the number automatically, isn't it in a database, their SSI number? Or does this, if they move from, say, Park City, 10th or 11th grade, say to Alpine? Are we thinking that Alpine's making a new number for them and that's why we're looking at the dropout? No,
So,
Same number.
but how then does it, you said it doesn't pick up that number when you said it's a school district.
It means that the kid may never enroll again. All right, so it's counting against us because they withdrew and never re-enrolled elsewhere.
Okay.
Now, there have been instances where kids have had duplicate SSIDs, but we have tried to resolve those with USBE.
Just to clarify, say someone does leave their junior year and goes to Alpine, where are they graduating from according to the number?
Alpine is
So
where
they-
they should be graduating from.
And yet the number will be different for the start of senior year,
No,
end of senior year, and starting at Park City as a ninth grader.
no, they'll get picked up with Alpine's graduation rate.
Okay,
So we would still count.
So they
Okay.
can now find version of this.
okay, got it. So their start with us counts as a start with Alpine and they're with Alpine and finish.
the possible to find out of
Confusing.
every 100 kids
Yeah.
are not graduating from school.
No, that's a lot of kids.
Find out about 100 of them.
Yeah.
So we graduated with 370.
Ish, yeah, we're in that bubble where we're 300 plus,
It's the ones.
So we had about another, assuming the number stands, we had about another 5% who
or
could
either,
have graduated into.
Even with the learning center, that hasn't helped it.
that, it should,
Yeah.
right? And I think this percentage would be much lower if we didn't have that option.
I think the other thing, there have been other influences in ICE, for example. I mean, I bet some kids have dropped out and gone back to wherever, or just not gone to school, you know.
I think there's instances where a student may be working full-time, sport full-time, like,
Are we able to track things like people who are leave school very early?
would be tough. I mean, a lot of times that's word of mouth.
Right.
We're talking 8 to 10 kids a year.
I know, it's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
I can tell you every story is different, right?
Yeah.
You'll have 15 different stories as to why they didn't complete.
Historically, names are really thin.
What's that?
Historically, the dropout rate in our district. And
I only looked at the last 3 years. But I can get that from Leah.
so there's not really a common here to say if we just would. That we, you know,
No, I
and the
wish.
social workers.
Depends on the situation. It really is a case by case basis based on whatever is happening in their life at that any given time.
I'm just thinking of all the scenarios where the state is assuming responsibility for them, whether it's foster care. Or they move in with a grandparent, and that grandparent applies for assistance with raising them, and all the ways that they'll get care later. We know what percentage of them with possibly awful stories aren't getting.
It would be such a small for us. We pull out every stop possible to get our kids across the finish line. And ultimately it comes down to their want, right? Our want can't be greater than their want to walk across that finish line.
And that work's being done by the counselors.
Counselors, teachers, learning centers, social worker, we have NTSS coordinator. We have Andrea Payne who managed the Flex Learning Lab.
How long do we continue to try and stay in contact if we?
Until September 30. So those kids who didn't make it to June 5th, counselors are still working with them to ensure they complete their credits.
But after that, we let. them go.
They usually will transition to take their GED, or they fall out of contact. Like some of them will just stop responding.
So in our community ed programs that we have that have for the GED, do we? Is it mostly at older adults, or do we have some students that come back for that?
There's a handful of students who will come back. They're adults, so there's prep classes to get them prepared for the actual GED exam.
They're not accounting as numbers, but it'd be great if the first time you have the members next year too.
Can't control everything.
Yeah, but I agree the goal should be 100%.
Yeah. It's painful to know that our influence is enormous, and yet we never, I don't know how we ever achieve 100%.
And sometimes it's just lack of connection to school. Social impacts, and I think we all know that's reality for our kiddos. Supporting a family takes priority. I think, politically, some of what we've seen play out has impacted attendance. And sometimes it's mental health issues that just can't finish it.
Yeah, if there was a illness or, people that were receiving treatment or something, would there be a possibility?
There's still a path back. There's almost always a way for us to live with them. So we'll have our class of 2026 data in October. And my hope is that it's improving and there's less kids that we're not helping cross the finish line. Okay. Friday early release time.
I think that's you too.
So we sent out a survey, we had 848 total responses, 224 open-ended comments. And here is the support for change. So in elementary, I had 582 respondents. You can see 35% support versus 38% oppose. So it's almost equal split, and 27% were neutral. And then in middle school, we had 450 respondents. That means they had a student who was entering Eckerville or already there. 63% support or strongly support. It's much stronger than elementary. 18% neutral, 6% oppose, and 14% strongly oppose. And the priorities were very different based on whether we were talking elementary or secondary. Elementary, it was work schedules, childcare arrangements, instructional time, after school activities. Whereas for secondary families, after school activities were number one, and then work schedules, sibling coordination, teacher planning time, instructional time, and childcare arrangements. Key themes from those 200 plus written comments. Many parents are concerned about losing more instructional time. There's requests to avoid further reduction when students already have the short Fridays. For our working families, they felt like if both parents are working, 12:30 is already a strain. So walking it back even earlier creates compounding childcare and work schedule challenges. There was a vocal segment that strongly supports giving teachers more planning time, especially to improve instruction during Monday through Thursday. Multiple parents requested a 4-day school week, late start models, or keeping early release, but adding full days elsewhere to offset the time. Parents want evidence the planning time will be used effectively on Fridays. Some express concern about the timing and communication of the survey itself, which I will acknowledge. It was, that last week of school where it's very chaotic and families are just trying to get to that last day of school. And then Ecker Hill families note a large gap with PCHS release. Earlier Ecker Hill release would help coordinate sibling pickup and allow Friday activities, ski programs, etc. So key takeaways just from that quick snapshot: 63% of Ecker Hill families support the change, primarily to close that gap between when the high school releases and Ecker Hill gets out. Elementary is very divided. Working parents and childcare concerns drive most of the opposition. Instructional time is a top concern across all groups. Parents want assurance that reduced instructional minutes will actually translate to improved instructional quality. And working families need continued aftercare support, so maintaining affordable, reliable Friday aftercare programs is critical for our families who cannot accommodate or need to pick up. Questions?
Did we collect demographic data on the people who responded to this? And I asked because I'm wondering if the vocal support happened to be people employed by the school district.
Yeah, we did not. We just asked for where their kids attended. What I thought, next time we do this, we need to take out the middle neutral. We need to force people to. Yeah. Yeah, I think given the split, my recommendation would be we pause and look at this a little more closely, given the timing of the survey. We did not get the response I had hoped for. And it's almost impossible to change one schedule without impacting the other. And we recognize families have kids in multiple schools. So there's no harm in pressing pause and looking into this a little more and being more thoughtful with time next school year.
Thank you. And I'm just gonna throw again, if you have a gap between high school and Ecker, one way of closing that is to make the high school finish line. The shame Caleb has got.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear.
Now, I was concerned that the elementary school parents would have that response. Just from my experience as a working parent. When my kids got home that hour or so during Monday through Thursday by themselves, that was doable. But if you extend it even more on a Friday where you let them stay home for a longer time by themselves. It adds a little bit more chaos.
I'm very fortunate, I work from home, like it is a pain in the rear when my kid comes home, because like,
Right.
then he wants attention and whatever, and even for someone who works from home, having a kid at home is not.
Right.
Work time, right?
Yeah, I'd say in the comments, the biggest concern was childcare after school lets out, and then continuity of programs, whether it be YSA or the aftercare that we're providing.
Yeah, I think some further analysis is.
Yeah. Yes. Well, obviously for the after school care that we're providing, that's easy. And we could certainly coordinate with Emily and YSA schedules, and let's see that was.
Yeah, and there was no impact, they would just come in a bit earlier. But I think just the timing of the decision and the survey was not adequate for families to provide input and then make plans for next school year if they needed to do so as it relates to childcare.
Yeah, it's sort of alluded to it, but it'd be interesting to understand from people what they would have to change to make this work. Like, would they have to get additional childcare? Would they have to leave work? Like, what is the action each of them would have to take to make this? Would they just leave the kid at home, for instance?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good question. Because of course, if there's after school care, it's seamless, but.
Or if you just have a 7th or 8th grader, you may trust them to stay home alone, whereas if you have a 2nd grader, they need supervision.
You could also argue that it's our responsibility to answer number 3, which is the instructional time. So we've asked the teachers how they plan to show the parents that they will improve the instructional time.
Yeah. Some more work to be done on our end, to ensure that this is not the perception that our teachers are working very hard on Fridays, whether it be planning, diving into student data, PD, mandatory trainings that we have to offer. And we know teachers need more time, and we can be more intentional with how that time is allocated.
So our decision is to postpone the decision.
Sounds great.
We ever thought to moving that day to a different day than Friday.
We did that one already. Right.
We asked the community.
That was
That was worse. Hard, no. That wasn't like split, that was very.
No, okay.
Yeah. Not moving Friday early out to that.
No, no.
Can we be more thoughtful about how our time is spent? Yes. Which we started that process this year, we'll continue to evolve that next year. Giving principals more autonomy within their building in terms of Friday PD with their staff. Because each building has a different need based on the population they're serving.
Okay. We have. We can move on to policies for posting. Okay, the following policies have been reviewed by the committee and are now before the board for posting. Policy 9110, acceptable use, policy 9046, competitive sports clubs, policy 10046, cell phones, policy 11000, FERPA, FERPA, and policy 11006, student privacy, which is a new policy. We get the motion.
You can make a motion to approve policies for posting as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have the following policies for adoption. They've been posted for 20 days and are now before the board for adoption. Policy 7097 nepotism, policy 7160 orderly termination, and policy 9025 loans.
Make a motion to approve the said policies for adoption.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And we gotta hang out for a little bit.
Oh, we have to, can start before 6.
Mm-hmm. You can count it. You can drink comfort.
We're too efficient today.
So you should have put some more things on the agenda.
We are so efficient.
I love it. Or not.
I feel like
Okay, I now declare the public hearing on the final budget for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 open. We'll now have public comments. Being none, hearing none. So do I just go through this, sorry?
Just read it as.
Just read it, okay.
It's the way to show in the minutes, so be a challenge.
Declare the public hearing on the final budget for fiscal year 2025 and 26 closed. I will entertain a motion to approve the final budget for fiscal year 25-26 as amended and included in the budget document.
I make a motion to,
Approve the-
approve the final budget for fiscal year 25-26 as amended and included in the budget document.
I would second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now I will declare the public hearing for the proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27 open. We will now have public comments. As there is none, I declare the public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 26-27 closed. I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27 with a recommended tax rate of 0.002157. This recommended rate does not include the basic levy or the charter levy, which are both finalized by the Utah State Tax Commission. If the certified tax rate is adjusted, the Board of Education reserves the right to adjust the final tax rate to yield the tax dollars currently proposed in the budget as presented. Otherwise, as presented, this will be the final rate set by the Board of Education.
I make a motion to approve the budget for 26-27 as read.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that was out of our agenda, right?
That was, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
We're at the last thing. I will now take a motion to adjourn our
I make a
meeting.
motion to adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting in August.
Thomas. Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.